Hey there. Sorry, I'm right over your shoulder. Apologies. Good morning, everyone. All right, we've got some people still trickling in, but I want to go ahead and get started. I'm Katie. I'm the general manager at ADAC, and I want to thank all of you for coming back for another Design ADAC. We couldn't be more thrilled to be here in person. Yay. So my team and I want to thank you for being here. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. I want to remind everyone to grab a copy of your event guide so you know what's going on this week, where to be. Lots of our events are starting to sell out, so if there's something you want to attend, just make sure that you're registering for that. If you need any help, our team is here, and we're happy to assist you on any of that. I also want to remind you that in this event guide, we have all of the social media handles for our speakers, our magazines. ADAC is at ADAC Atlanta, and we'll use the hashtag Design ADAC this week. So have some fun with us on social media and post those pictures and videos. We can't wait to see them. I want to thank our media sponsor today, which is Modern Luxury Interiors Atlanta and the Atlantan. And I also want to thank our showroom sponsor today, which is Wood Mode and Dove Studio. Just remember that after this presentation, we'll go over to ADAC West, Suite A5, for a reception, and our team is here to help direct you over to ADAC West. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Caroline Perrott, who's the editor-in-chief of Modern Luxury Interiors Atlanta and the Atlantan.
Hey y'all, how are you doing this morning? We were so excited to get this morning spot to really kick off the morning with you guys, and today we brought in Chaz Easterly. She is the founder of Linen Flax, and Daniel Harper, who's the founder and CEO of Renew Properties. These two are great friends, not only to the magazine, but to each other. This is Chaz's work husband, and we're going to explore the intricacies of a successful designer-contractor relationship, so Daniel being the contractor, Chaz being the designer. So to dive in, Chaz, could you just tell us the story about how you and Daniel's relationship began in the industry?
Well, first of all, thank you, Caroline, for having us. Yeah. We're so happy to be here. Thank you for coming. Daniel and I met a few years, well, probably now 8 years. Has it been about 8 years?
Yeah.
I was working with several different contractors, and we were not having great success. They were not showing up on time. They were not finishing on timelines that we would schedule. And as a designer, you know, we stick to our word, and it's very crucial for us to deliver, and they were not delivering. So I was talking to a mutual friend, and I'm like, I just need the guy. I need the contractor who's going to show up. You know what I'm saying, and who's going to deliver, and when I give my word to my client and full trust that they give me, that they can also trust my team. He's like, I've got your guy. So we met, I think we met for lunch with Mac, and we hit it off immediately. Kindred spirits, same work ethic. I loved his work, and I loved his team. We started introducing our teams. Our teams are smaller when we met.
Much
They've
smaller.
grown, yes. And that's what I recall. What would you say?
Yeah, we go out for our first initial consultation with a customer, and we're in this basement, and Chaz says, hey, okay, I've worked with some contractors. They're not able to do a lot of things. Have you ever done a barn door? I was like,
That's simple.
yeah, we can do a barn door. It's like, oh my gosh, you can do a barn door.
You can actually do it.
So it was.
Yes.
I don't know who you were working with before.
You don't know who I was working with before. I don't think they're probably
maybe
around
one of
anymore.
I don't know if you've had the glorified handyman type, like a guy with a truck that has some tools, you know. So anyway.
That's basically, remember Ruben?
Yeah.
Which we loved Ruben. He did a lot of trim work with us. But I had several contractors that literally, there was one time that I told Daniel, I went to a client's home to check on the project, and she's like, what is that smell? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never smelled that. And the contractor was smoking weed in the basement. So I'm like, it is time to find a new contractor. So I was so grateful. And after working with Daniel, the first project, it was a pretty big project, huge project actually, the Yankees.
Yeah.
It was seamless. He delivered. Our clients loved their team as much as they loved our team. We worked as one, and it's super important to be united, both designer and contractor. I have great confidence that behind my back, he's going to speak the utmost about our team, and he knows, I believe, confidently that I would do the same. Where some contractors will blame the designer, Have you been there? So that's very important. Yes.
There.
Awesome. Well, that kind of answers my next question, which was, what is the elements of a perfect contractor-designer relationship? And it sounds like it's to be united, to show up on time, and don't smoke weed in the basement.
And don't smoke weed in the basement. It's a no-no. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
So in terms of coming from the client standpoint, who should a client go to first? Do they go to a contractor and say, is this possible to be done? Or do they go to a designer and say, this is my vision, can you dream with me? What is the timeline?
So typically with our relationship, it has been they come to Linen and Flax, our team. We meet with them, we schedule consultation, we go to their home, we dream, we scheme, we talk about the possibility, and we normally set the bar high, and then sometimes we have to scale it back. And once they see the vision and we've spelled it out to them, then we bring in our contractor. Now, most of the time they'll say, well, I have a guy. And I'm like, well, is he a GC? You know the guy that they always talk about, the guy. I'm like, well, we need a GC, so we're going to bring in our contractor. And we'll even encourage them to bring in several to get a couple quotes, but they know by the work that they've seen us do, who we use, so they'll bring in Daniel. So then my team, Daniel's team, we all meet at the client's home. They have a good idea of what this is going to look like, good idea of what it's going to cost, and then we meet, and that's where we start brainstorming, and literally we have the vision by the time that meeting's over. Would you agree?
Yeah, a lot of times we'll walk out of a house with our team and we're like, this is going to be incredible. Like we're already giving out high fives like we've already done the job. But yeah, it's exciting.
A designer can dream, but and can give a great vision, but it's all about execution. Mm-hmm. And so I want the best execution in our projects, whether it's working with a builder, a contractor, Daniel's both. And I just know that I can have complete confidence that he's going to deliver and his team's going to deliver. And we have great teams, project managers, designers, that we might see the whole vision, but then they're also executing, and we have great trust in them. And I see a lot of them here. And it's a whole team. It's a whole team focus. It's not just Daniel and Chaz.
And Caroline, as far as going to the designer, there are some people that come to the builder first. Mm-hmm. What we've found is if they come to us first and then they bring in a designer, we're having to double the work.
And
backtracking. Yeah. It's way better if we can come in, hey, this is sort of the big vision we want to do, and we can hit a still target easier than a moving target. So we've done some projects without designers before, mm-hmm. where you just got to hurry up and take photos before they move back in, because it's just, it's going to look terrible. They're going to put some nasty furniture back in there, or they chose this weird something, that you don't want to, you can't put on social media or anything like that. So we're really grateful to work with designers, especially like Linen Flax, that make where you can walk away and be like, oh yeah, we're proud of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what is your favorite part of working on your projects together? Is there a point in the process, other than the brainstorming, that is your favorite part?
I'll let you answer first.
Well, the brainstorming is the fun part.
Right.
Because how many of you guys have been involved with like renovations, construction projects before? Okay, most people here. So you understand that the process is like making sausage. Nobody likes to see the process being made, mm-hmm. But sausage is delicious. It is fun, that brainstorming stage where you're like, oh, this is going to be really cool. And then there's a few points in the project that are really fun. Like when floors go in, it feels clean again, because you've gone through this terrible demo stage and framing and nasty, and then it gets really slow there because you're doing wiring and nothing's visually happening. And then you got inspections. That is really boring. And so we try to tell our customers, say, hey, I'm sorry, so we just finished framing. That was really exciting. It's going to feel like we've gone away for the next 3 weeks because we've got to do very little things, and then we got to wait for inspectors. And so there's boring parts. But when it kicks back up, flooring, cabinets, mm-hmm. and then move-in day when you've got mm-hmm. when you're staging great all the mm-hmm. installs. That's fun. That's fun coming in.
It's when it comes to life. We've been working on computers and in CAD, and in messy projects. And there's also client fatigue. Do y'all ever get that? I'm sure maybe we're the only ones. Where they're like, come on, it's almost done. And I'm like, there's no sheetrock. We are not almost done. So kind of handling that part, we both work really well on encouraging them, keeping them upbeat, keeping them positive. But when you get past that designer client fatigue and then you get that installation, because most of them wear a little thin because they think we're close, but they don't see all the process that needs to take place. But install day is it's normally a week now. But it's so rewarding, so incredible to see the satisfaction that the client has for both of our teams. And I think one of the best things is when we circle back with them, they'll invite us over for wine. They're just so grateful. And they're grateful that it was a process that worked, not only in its beauty, but that it was a good experience. And we really, I think, our main vision for any interaction with a client is the experience. Yes, we want to deliver a beautiful space. Who doesn't? But I want them to love us and tell everyone about us when we leave. And 9 out of 10, they're calling us back for the next phase. So that's really important, to be like-minded. It's not just about finishing a project and getting paid, but making sure that they have loved the experience and also have a beautiful home.
Amazing. So I've been, throughout this process of getting ready for our talk today, I've been talking to both of your teams individually. And what they said about both you guys is that you're just such visionaries and that you're both yes people. If you come up with an amazing idea and there might not be a straight way to get there, you're gonna figure out a way to get there. So I think too, that's what makes you guys work so well. We're gonna go through some of your yes projects where things ended up beautifully. So our first one is one very close to home. It is this carriage house. Chaz, could you tell me a little bit about the story of this project and why it's so personal to you?
So, when you choose a contractor, we don't just use him for our work, but I personally use Daniel and his team as well. But we had a fire in our home, and it was pretty tragic. I was building our office. It was going to be Linen Flax for my design team. And it was probably not the best idea to have my office at home. So it went up in flames. A contractor that was not Daniel, actually, left a bunch of rags, and they basically caused a fire. So I called Daniel, and I'm like, I have to rebuild this. That's supposed to be my office. And you were out within a week. We started planning, dreaming, and I was still kind of recovering from it because it was,
tragic.
It was tragic.
Yeah.
It was 3 o'clock in the morning. Half of the house burned down, and it was amazing that we even woke up. It could have been really bad. So in a delicate situation like that, calling a friend, but also someone that is going to get me to the finish line, was important. So we built this carriage house, and then in that process, I decided it was not going to be my home office. We had found a headquarters, and I wanted it to be a guest retreat, and it was a very small space, and we normally do big projects, so I wanted to share this with our community and show them that we can do small, and we can elevate small, and we can make it livable. And so it was a special project because it was home, it was coming after a hard time, and using a friend who also could deliver.
And it sounds like, in a weird way, you were putting work too close to life.
Too close to home.
Too close to home, literally.
Yes.
And so it was nice to kind of have that, even though it was tragic, a moment to
It
kind
was
of
a good thing.
rebirth
Yes.
into a whole new concept.
Yes.
So Daniel, tell us a little bit about this project. And it's a small space, so how did you maximize the layout?
Sure. Well, just an FYI, if your floor guys or your painters are bundling up their rags of stain or any sort of either oil-based or poly-based material, they should air them out to let them dry before throwing them away instead of bundling them up. So there is a risk. So this project was really fun, although the circumstances were tricky.
It's fun.
With typically insurance companies want you to rebuild exactly what's there just because they know what can be replaced and what can't. But what we were able to do is say, hey, well, how can we maximize what the insurance is paying out for this fire damage and make it great? So, we thought through roof lines a little bit because we had to essentially rebuild
Everything.
everything. So
It was ashes.
It brought some pretty cool opportunities to bring this kitchen on the front end here and make there were some really small transom windows up there and before, and so we were able to bring those down closer to the countertop to bring in some light, but still maintain some all the design elements on the outside. So it turned out great. Chaz had some really good ideas throughout, and we were able to take out some columns and stuff in your
really
garage.
Configured everything.
Yeah, so you could have a space to actually.
And why I did not use him initially, I feel like I should back up. It was already, it was framed out, and I was trying to do it on the cheap, which I do not recommend. And I had a trim guy, Ruben, and it was not Ruben's fault. It was the painter, and it was a new team that he was using. But I was just like, as cheap as possible. We just need a place for computers, laptops, and like a table to gather. So what this ended up becoming was so much greater than anything that I was trying to do before. And I didn't bring him in because I was just trying to do it as, cheap. Yes, and I regret it, so take note. Yeah, but it ended up being great. We call it Beauty from Ashes, and it ended up being one of my favorite projects just because of the personal part of it.
All right, so next we are talking about this main level kitchen. They wanted a California cool vibe. And could you tell us a little bit about the background of, other than the aesthetic they wanted?
So this client came to us and had been following us on Instagram and just wanted this, she would say, California cool. What was interesting is we had already done this house, another home close by in Sandy Springs. It was the exact same floor plan.
Okay.
But we didn't want to do the exact same thing. So that was kind of our challenge. Let's totally rethink this. We know what it could be because we just did it, same floor plan. This client never had a mudroom. The kitchen was really small, really dark, really dated, traditional, kind of stuck in the 80s, and this was going to be their forever home. They raised their children, and they just wanted a fresh start. So I brought Daniel in. Of course, they loved the team immediately. And what we always do is we give them the presentation before they even break ground. So Daniel and his team has everything from hardware in the cabinet to doorknobs to, literally everything. So the day that they break ground, the day they start the project, they know exactly the direction we're going, and the client knows where we're going, and it turns out good.
Turns out good.
What would you add to that?
Yeah.
That project was cool. Are you familiar with the garage plan where you walk in, the part of the garage is angled, and so you walk into a 45-degree angle wall into essentially your kitchen / breakfast area? That house has been built many, many times, especially in Sandy Springs, Dunwoody area. We decided that it would extend the kitchen if we could get rid of that angle wall. So we squared that up and moved the garage entry to the side of the house where it came into a mudroom, which I think made a big difference.
Huge impact, and they had a place for their giant dogs. We did built-in crates, and that was a big ask, but we're like, you have no mudroom. You have a very small kitchen. So floor plan and space planning is a really, it's an asset. I think that's one of the things that you do best, that I'll sit there and I'm like, okay, how do we make this bigger? And can I take this wall down, or is the house gonna fall down? And he's like, we're good, you can take that wall down. Or can we make this larger and change that corner and put a mudroom where it just never existed and go into the garage in a different way. And just knowing he's capable, I can dream it, but I just never know if the house is gonna stand, and he will give me confidence that we're good, we can totally do that. Our big thing is anything is possible. Money, but anything is possible. So our clients will always ask, and we will give them what they want, but sometimes we do have to scale back because it always comes down to budget.
Yeah, we tell people, as long as physics and dollars cooperate, it can be done.
We can do it. Yes.
On to our next project, where this is a perfect example of the, give us the world, and the sky's the limit. This was a bathroom where basically they wanted a whole main level renovation, if I remember correctly, focusing on the laundry in the bathroom, in the master bathroom. Will you talk a little bit about these clients and some special design features that they used?
So that was the Ramseys. They are a lovely family, and they'd raised their kids in their home. It's like an estate home, a beautiful home, also stuck in the 80s. Do you remember the bathroom when we started? I think it had carpet, a treadmill, and
A treadmill?
It was bad. It was really bad, and I was just like, wow. But this will be incredible. The worse, the better for us, because we love to see transformation. So that does not scare us, but it was dark. The ceilings were low, so we raised the ceiling, created a beautiful barrel ceiling. The ask was that it's light, airy. They love 30A, so they wanted it to feel like 30A, so we brought in the cypress and the light blues, and Changed all of their hardwoods throughout, which that was not the ask, but once we started, of course, then it's let's reface our kitchen, let's do all the hardwoods, let's reface the fireplace, let's do wallpaper, let's do the laundry room. That happens with every project, and my team is probably like, yes, stop. But that's what you want. And so once they trust you and they see execution is happening, and they are both retired, and the husband ran a corporate job, and he was all about in the beginning, like, hey, do you remember like how we got interviewed with him? Like, he was tough.
Oh, yeah.
But he loved us, so that was
Yeah.
good because we stick to our word. Most important thing, you can be a great designer, but if your word is not good, it just doesn't matter.
And I think a lot of comes like sticking to your word. A lot of that comes
Yes.
between y'all's communication because you both are committing to that. So just another point of you guys is
Yeah.
synergy. Oh my goodness, synergy.
Got you.
All right, so moving on. So here's some more photos of the amazing bathroom.
It was red and really bad paisley wallpaper, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
And it was stuck in, it was 1980. And so it's a great transformation. And even with the kitchen, we didn't completely gut it, but we refaced it, new hardware, new paint, new lighting, and it just, new paint throughout the whole home. We also did their foyer. We redesigned their staircase. It was a very traditional staircase. We added iron and did all new hardwoods and light fixtures and sconces, and it just looks like a new build.
That really
and
did.
it started with a master bath consultation. So
Can you go back one picture, Caroline?
I think so. Let me see if I know how to make this work. Yeah, got it.
There's some really cool stuff that Linen Flax put together on this one. Like the this niche detail was really cool. You can't really see it super clearly in here, but when you walk in, you got these neat niches with the plumbing fixtures recessed in there, and it's just kind of a really cool kind of feature. And then these really neat, custom details on the cabinets here. Then there was this huge space in the toilet room. They were like, well, can you give us a custom, linen closet there? So we did that. So great job.
everything is completely
Turned out really
custom,
great.
and all the resources that we use together are excellent in the trade. So that's also really important. You can have a great contractor, but who is he using? What are his trade resources? And so I have confidence in his cabinet team. So we can say, okay, we're going to meet on site, whether it's the floors, cabinets, choose the stain. We like to make our own stain just because it's custom. So they'll take the time. Sometimes it takes 2 and 3 days. I'm like, it's not right. We'll come back. Let us sit on it. We'll come back. So you know how that goes.
Our team,
You guys are so awesome.
And just a word on stains, we try to remind designers that, hey, I want to match this color right here. And I said, well, just so you know, you're matching a spectrum of color, on wood, So I like to remind designers that sometimes.
And is it red oak or white oak? Because all the stains look different, and that's where the clients have a mental block. They're like, no, I want this. I'm like, well, you're never going to have that because you have red oak. So I'm going to give you as close as I can, but I'm going to lie to you if I say I'll make that happen because I'm not going to be able, it's not possible. So honesty, you have to be honest and you have to set expectations, and we do that, and sometimes they don't like to hear it, but I'm not going to give them my word, and then that is not what I promised. And we think the same, and our team does too, with that.
Awesome. So moving on to the next project, we have this outdoor living area. Will you tell us a little bit about these clients and what they were looking for and what they wanted?
So we had worked with these clients. We did their whole renovation,
Okay.
main floor.
Main floor first, yeah.
Yeah,
This
first.
is phase 2.
Yes, we started with their kitchen. Again, that was a meeting. It was just going to be their kitchen. And
And
then
it
we
developed.
brought the team in, and then it was the entire main floor. So then they brought us in and said, we want to build a back porch. And this is going to be our forever house, and this is the house where all the neighbors come. This is where we entertain. We want a great fireplace. We want a lot of seating. And, we want you all to handle it. So they already had full confidence how we work as a team, even though we go to contract separately, pardon me. So we gave them what they wanted. You want to add anything to that?
This porch was really fun.
It was really fun.
It's fun when a customer also has the budget and they're like, hey, we really want an awesome, space, and we're like, okay, well that
We can
is
do
fun.
that.
Yeah. So we got to do the inset ceiling heaters were kind of a nice feature. I like the cast stone mantle that you guys chose. Turned out really good. The grill station over there, I don't know if you can see that. That was a really, that's a challenging thing to do with, you got those grill elements. Because if you have an 8-foot section of brick and you want to fit 9 elements of grills and trash pullouts and built-in coolers and things like that, it's pretty tight. So if you can, as you're designing those, if you can add a couple extra feet in there, your contractor will thank you heavily for having that flexibility in masonry.
Yes. But they trust us, and when a client trusts you, as you know, there's nothing greater. And your best work is done when they give you your trust. So it's fun when we both know, oh yeah, we can kind of push it and show them, and maybe it's over budget at our meeting, our presentation, but 9 out of 10 as well, they always go for it because it's what it should be. And then unless they just can't afford it, then I'll say, just wait. Why don't you just wait and let's just do it right? That's another honest conversation.
Next we have this sunroom and patio. It sounds like they were following you on Instagram, which I know you have such an amazing following on Instagram. That's actually how I found out about you. And will you just talk a little bit about that and your relationship with not only social media, but your clients in general and these in particular?
Well, I would say most of our business comes from Instagram, which is wild. You should be using it. It is a great tool. It is free. And the world is on social media. So we've been using it, building our business organically on Instagram, and really getting to know our community and knowing what they want to see. They love design. We do a lot of things with Linen Flax. We do apparel, shameless plug. We have a home store as well, designers. But we're known for full service design. So they'll follow us, and that's when they reach out. They'll reach out to Courtney, and she will do a discovery call with them, and they basically send her pictures of either my home or something they've seen on Instagram. They're like, I want this. So it's been a powerful tool, and I would just encourage you to do it and put your work. And I know what a lot of designers think, well, it's not good enough, or I didn't have the best photographer. Most of my Instagram, the pictures that get the most engagement are pictures from my iPhone because they want real. And we're designing for real people. We're designing for families. Of course, when we were published with you, we had a great photographer, but people want real, so don't let that hold you back. But this is how we get projects like this. They saw a piece of work that we did. They're like, we want you to do this. We had worked on their master bedroom, and I don't think we used you because that was just furniture and finishes. But then they came to us and said, can you build a sunroom? We have this space on the side of our house, and we want to maximize it. We don't have an outdoor space. So, of course, I called in Renew. Of course, they loved them, and we started working, and we came up with this.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to skip right ahead to this wine room because I want to talk about the finishes. This is an example of using, isn't this white oak, but you just stained it differently?
We actually, yes. That was maple. I think, did we do maple in here? This was white oak.
Yeah, we did maple, but we stained it to mimic
Look like white oak.
Okay.
Because of cost. Because maple is cheaper, and everybody wants white oak because it's what everybody wants right now. But we wanted to save a little money on budget to put our money in other places. So we did a maple with a white oak looking stain. So they had the appearance of that. And this was fun. This is also a client I worked with, did their entire home, also like a big estate in Roswell. And we did all furnishings and finishes. There was really just a little bit of construction, but then when we wanted to do their basement, we needed to blow out walls. We needed to make this wine room. So I called in Renew, and we started dreaming and scheming, and we're like, we need like real barrels. Like, they need to work. And, he can make that happen. So, and how do we get that to happen? And so do you want to speak into this? Because this was pretty big.
Yeah, we wanted the authenticity of real barrels. I've seen it done where they slice the front of the barrel off and mount it on the wall, which is cool. I mean, a really great look.
We did that once with someone, but we wanted more.
We wanted that, like the idea of we're storing wine in this space, and so we ordered it from this place in Florida. And what's funny is that I wasn't home at the time. They said, "Hey, I'm not allowed to. I'm in this big 18-wheeler rig, and I can't pull up your driveway." So he just unloaded like 12 barrels on the front of my driveway in the street, and I'm on a kind of a pretty busy road, and so I had to. I called my wife and said, "Becca, just so you know, there's a bunch of barrels in our street. I'm coming home to move them. But our team did a really good job of getting them in and taking care of them.
And then even with those barrels, I would meet your team and the project manager, and remember we would sand them? I'm like, give me the sander. There were all these weird stickers on them, so we were sanding the stickers out. I think, Ty, you were with me one day. And I'm like, nope, give me the sander. We need to get it. And yeah, those barrels. And one is actually a functioning barrel that they can put wine in and use when they have a party, which is pretty cool. Has a little spigot on it. Cool. What's that? They're all empty, yes. He has a wine collection. His son actually
He got really into wine.
yes,
Yeah.
and started collecting it and started a business. So they wanted to have this for him in the basement. He's grown, and to entertain. And that was where we had also client fatigue because Super Bowl was coming. And just because Super Bowl was coming, I'm like, it's not done. But he's like, I have to have it for the Super Bowl party. And I think we did it. I think we finished it like right before, but that was one of those things. I'm like, really? Like, Super Bowl party. I'm having a party. It has to be done. You've all heard that. So, anything else with that project that stands out?
That was, the glass doors going in there, the steel glass doors was a fun moment. Those wine rooms can be tricky of disguising like the cooling unit and that sort of thing, but it's fun when they're all come together.
And we did the entire basement. We added a bar in the main area, which I don't think we have a picture of. It was very dated also, that basement, and so we changed all the lighting in the basement. We did remember that little trap door he wanted, like a James Bond door?
Oh, yeah.
We did, that was cool. They all want a James Bond
cool.
door. We have another client that wants that. So there was a lot of neat things in that. He wanted a hunting room, and we did a hunting room for him, and then he wanted his private office down there with also a concealed door. So that was a good project. It was big.
We've done some cool stuff. We did that. We did a vault door in that first basement we did.
Oh yeah, that was
It's like
a good one too.
this bank vault door where you can put in there and
Yes.
walking into a safe room. So that was neat.
Again, we can do anything. It just always comes down to budget, which is a great conversation to have and a conversation you have to have. And that is a starting point for us. And sometimes there's a miss on that, like, did we hear that right? So you have to go back to it. And I know talking about money is uncomfortable, but you have to. Because that's really, at the end of the day, it always comes back to that. And it can either limit you or it can free you to do the best work.
And it builds trust.
Yes.
Like once you put that up on the table up front, it really builds trust. So people do come back and are like, hey, I actually want you to do my entire house now that we have that rapport.
Yeah, and our script on that is, we say,
we have a script.
Say, hey, listen, we have a tendency to design really big and get really excited, and we can go overboard. So I could spend $1 million today on your house. Just curious of where you want to invest, because we can design it lots of different ways. And that we found that has helped people say, okay, well, I can see how giving you a number, because everybody's a little bit, I don't want to tell you my number. That's too private. It's like, well, we're going to get there anyways. I might as well go ahead and get to the
there.
point.
And there are times you have to say no. Not every client is the perfect client. So we have said no, whether it's location, it's going to keep us out of our general area, which we don't really have the margin of time. So we always like to know, where is this project? Is this beneficial for our team? We know that our team has to make several trips to go to job site visits. And then, the budget might not be right, because what we want to do is deliver a beautiful project, and I cannot deliver a kitchen for $50,000. So some people on Instagram think you can, because they go to Home Depot, and I'm like, well, we can't. So Courtney has probably the worst job of telling people the bad news. And also letting them know what the expectations are, and to be fair, so that they don't book a consultation that we charge for. And when we book it, they're being charged, but we want them to know, like, we're not over-promising. And that was a curve for me to learn, because I'm an over-promiser by nature. So Courtney keeps it real in the office when she takes that discovery call.
Amazing. Well, we are going to start our Q&A portion for Chaz and Daniel. Feel free to pick their brains about their relationship, anything in the industry. So anyone want to kick it off?
I'm going to use a microphone because we're on camera. So
Okay, yeah.
I know there's questions back.
Right here.
Here's what.
So, have y'all had a conversation on the front end, like if a client asks you your opinion instead of her?
Yes, that happens often, actually.
Yes.
There are a few projects we're working on without a designer. In that scenario, it's easy to just kind of make it, give an opinion. But on projects we're working on with designers, and, with Linen Flax, we'll say, you know what? That's a good idea. That what you're talking about is possible. I think that probably needs to go through Chaz to make sure that that's the right call. So our goal is to try to make designers the star of the design. I mean, because it's really the heart of where it's all coming from. So we want to make sure that credit's going where it's due.
Thank you. It also will take them off track. So we've had that before where a contractor is like, oh yeah, well, this is how she should be doing it, and I'm like, what? So we've had that before, and it will ruin the design. Not that he didn't have a good idea, but there needs to be a conversation. And there has been an occasion, I think, that we've had where he's like, well, I just decided to do that. That was the right call. And I'm like, no, you should have reached out to the office. One thing we do is we have a base camp. Have you heard of base camp? And that's how we all communicate. So when a client comes on, we onboard them. We invite them into this, what do we call it? It's base camp, but it's a portal. And so that's where all their information is stored. So when we do a presentation, it lives there. If we do a quote, it lives there. Invoice lives there. Conversation with Daniel, so all eyes are on it. So we work as one. If there's a question for Daniel's team, we see it. And then Courtney or one of my designers, Louisa, might jump in and say, oh no, I was just there. I saw the stain was, down. So we like all of our eyes on the project. When you're working together, you need to work together. And that's been a game changer, I think.
Mm-hmm. Basecamp is a great tool. Actually, I was very resistant to bringing on another technology, and my team convinced me finally. And really grateful because it's sort of a one-stop shop for communication. I don't know if you've ever had a customer starts emailing you a picture of this man. I love this mantle, and then they'll text you a picture, and like everything's coming in from all different directions. It's so nice to have a central place and say, you know what? Let's put that in Basecamp. Because our team is seeing it, your team is seeing it, and the customer's all seeing it, so it's really helpful. So all the plans, our selection sheets live in there. The inspiration photos live in there, and then we post update photography throughout the project, so that we can just kind of track along and see that.
And Renew will put a little QR code at each project, so that when a vendor comes or a tradesman, they can just scan that and they can see the presentation. They can see, oh, that was a 1x4 vertical, not horizontal, and less mistakes, because mistakes cost money and it normally falls on us to fix it. So that's been really great too. So use your resources, use them. Mm-hmm.
Good question.
So Basecamp has a QR code.
Hold on one second. I need to make sure.
Basecamp is our portal where all of our communication happens between client and us. The QR code, that's what Daniel does, and that's separate.
And but it can take you to a link in Basecamp.
It can take you to Basecamp.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
So
helpful.
I use Ivy. I mean, some people may have heard of Ivy.
We used to use Ivy here when I first started.
Right. So you've replaced Ivy with Basecamp?
Yes.
Right, okay.
There's more depth to it. I mean,
Okay.
what we're loading in there, the mass amount of images and just the conversations, we found it really helpful because we also have lots of parts of our business live on Basecamp. So our home store, our apparel store, it's just how we all communicate for a large group of people. They have a good sized team as well. So it's been really good. We've tried a few of them. We tried Slack before. It just didn't give us enough. So Basecamp, there's different tiers. We have the top tier just because you can have more users. Super user-friendly, very easy. Can access it from your phone.
Sounds very efficient.
Yes, it's efficient. It is.
Basecamp should be paying us.
Because your client will call you, right? And you're at Publix, and they're like, so, what was the color of my kitchen island? And I'm like, let's go to Basecamp, and I'll be in the car. And I'm like, here's your refresh. It's easy. It's accessible for them, for us. We can point them in a direction and not, like Daniel said, look for an email or a text, tons of text. So
I need to buy stock in
very good.
Basecamp.
What's
I
that?
said I need to buy stock in Basecamp.
Seriously, I should. It's very, very good.
All right, any more questions?
Dorothy.
Oh, I'm
Dorothy.
next, okay. Oh, congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
Really. But I noticed in the beginning, everything blue and white. It's a tabula rasa, because you can add anything to white. Is that not true? And look at you today. Look at the statement, blue and white.
Who knew?
Wow.
I happen to be a great proponent of the same coloration, but you too, you mentioned the whole spectrum of coloration in the beginning when you first introduced yourself. So again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thanks, Dorothy.
all right.
I want to hear about that trap door. What's for
trap
James
door.
Bond? What's that used for?
So it was an entrance to his office, and he really wanted his office to feel like James Bond. But there was a little corridor and then his office. So the trap door was right next to the bar, and it just was like a seamless door that he didn't want anyone to know where his office was. He has a substantial gun collection, and he just wanted it private and not seen. So it's flush to the wall. It looks like it's part of the wall. No one would really know it other than him. We've done a few things like that. We have a client now who wants the Matrix bar. I'm like, what's the Matrix bar? So is it the Matrix? I think that's what it was. So now we're designing a Matrix bar. I mean, we get all the things.
What's a matrix bar?
Lots of brass, very dark, very moody, very cool, leather chairs. I mean, he's like, you know the Matrix. I'm like,
Like
I will watch. I don't.
It's like third dimension-y.
Yes, very moody. Yes, it's beautiful.
I have a question about, this is not about contracting, but more about interior design. You design with a lot of white. Do you think that that is going to stay in trend and like in the zeitgeist of interiors, or do you think that this is just like what's really popular right now? Like, what do you think about your aesthetic?
Well, I love it.
I know.
I love it because I grow tired of color. I love color. I love a pop of blue. I love greens. I do love it and appreciate it, but I will go buy pillows, and in 3 months, I'm like, I cannot deal with the navy anymore. So I have just found I prefer texture and layers over color, and that's kind of my accent. I grew up in Connecticut, and we were in a farmhouse, 1908, and it was before Joanna Gaines. There was shiplap everywhere. And my dad painted everything white. It was just the best way to update it. Everything was white. Then I remember one day he painted the floors white because we were having a Christmas party. So in our home store, I painted the floors white. It was an old farmhouse as well, and everything shiplapped and painted white. So I think white is timeless. I think there are trends. Right now we're seeing a mood. Everyone's kind of going with this moody, earthy, which I appreciate, and we have clients that we will, if they're asking us for that, we deliver with the mood. We're doing that more, I feel like, now. But I think my home, my lane, my comfort zone is just neutrals, texture. I feel like you can add and not grow tired. So if you have a desire to have a little pink or green or something, you can play with it, but not invest. We think your base should be neutral.
Be invested
and then
in-
play with your investment pieces, yes.
Yeah.
And then play with accents. They don't cost a lot either to change out. Yes.
Interesting.
I hope it stays forever. I mean, I love it.
I mean, I love it too. I've seen it all over Instagram, and it's like the
Yes.
thing that pops up on your Discover page all the time. And I'm just curious to know, like, because I do think that investing in furniture is important.
Yes.
Any designer would say that.
And you can layer with color
And
if
you
needed.
can layer with different things. Anyway, anyone
Also,
else?
the world is broken to a degree, right? And I feel like when I go out into the world, it's a lot. There's just a lot to take in. And so I want to create for our clients, mostly families, a retreat, a place that they can come and it's not jarring. It's calm, it's a sanctuary, it's a refuge. And to me, a refuge is something that's not jarring. And it's soft, and it's inviting, and it's warm. And I feel like Linen and Flax is that. I want a family to say, movie night on the couch, on the sectional with a fire going, and it's a mood. To me, the mood is in that meaning versus a moody pillow. So that's kind of how we design.
Yeah.
Very intentional, very thoughtful and meaningful, and neutral.
Anybody else have any other questions? We have one over here.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Let me just get up there. Running in heels over here.
You're doing good.
You mentioned earlier that you had a consultation fee when you first go to a client. Is that an hourly fee? Is it a basic one-time fee? Is there a time limit on it? Do you both go? How does that work?
So when we go as our team, that was a question. Every designer does it different, but I could do consultations all day long. Thank God we get a lot of discovery calls, but I realized my time had to be paid for. So we started charging. We have not had resistance to it because Courtney is super upfront with how we work, because everyone works different, so you have to set the expectation. So we do charge them, and we try to keep it under an hour. I think the gift that I have is I can see a space, I can see it like that as soon as I walk in. And then executing it, I have to pull into my team that is incredible with putting the CAD together and all the renderings, and lean into Daniel's team. So we only need, sometimes I'm like in 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, we're good, but we'll stay and linger because they've paid for it. So I would say it takes me 30 minutes to 45 minutes. We do not exceed an hour. And we just charge for that hour. And then they make the decision. We put together a scope after that, and we list what we've heard that they wanted and what we can deliver. And then we charge them up front. So everybody does it different, but we charge them up front because we're going to show them a full executed design, a full design. And we charge them up front, and once they decide they go to contract with us, that's when we bring out Daniel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does help to have it a little bit separate. Like you have your design team, and then you have your contracting team. So it's helpful having the kind of the sort of the vision ahead of time, general what we want to do, and then we try to have the conversation with customers during the early part of that process. As designers, I don't know if you ever have your customers saying, "Hey, why aren't the electricians here yet?" And I try to tell people, listen, here's the thing. Linen Flax is going to give us the design. They're going to give us general marching orders. They're not going to know when your electrician is showing up or why the plumber is 2 days behind. That's our job. And so we try to set that. Hey, there's going to be a separation. Here's our lane. This is their lane, and do it that way.
Keep them in the lanes. When it starts crossing over, it gets tricky.
Unnecessary stress because you don't know what's going on site.
Because we lean into a team that handles that, and it doesn't create more work for our team. We used to do that. We used to manage everything. We want to be there when the countertop's installed, but there was no need. It was just as our team was growing and our business was growing, we can rely, and it's an asset to have someone that we do not have to be there for that. Sometimes we like to be at a lighting install, definitely, but we don't have to be there for countertop delivery or some of the sheetrock guy or the trim guy. We know the plan is there. It's completely available through Renew, and they can lead their resources. Mm-hmm. Takes a lot off our plate.
Yeah, and just from a business standpoint, our contracts are separate with the customer. Mm-hmm. So I know some designers want to bring it in and kind of keep it all in-house. No. The downside of that is you are now the contractor. You're just having to subcontracting it out to us. So we have found it be a little bit better to keep those separately. You had a question, thank you.
Can I get you to ask that question on it?
Did she already ask it? Oh.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, what do you charge for your first appointment, your vision, that first hour when you meet with your client?
We charge $300. Courtney, we're still at $300? Yes.
Okay.
Just checking. Yes,
All
$300.
right. And then after that, is it an hourly fee when you do your drawings or your?
We do not do hourly. We charge it for the scope because it's too hard to track hours, and we're working on sometimes 20 projects at a time. So we found that is really difficult. So we know with the experience how long a project's going to take us. We'll say this is a 6-month project, 8-month project. I have a large team. And so we think about the resources we're delivering, or we think about the experience, and we base it on that. Again, it's all relative, right? Mm-hmm. That is the trickiest part. It is. With design is what you're worth. But you know what? I work a lot, and my team works a lot, and they work so hard, and they are so talented. And it takes me away from my family. I miss football games, so I charge. And you should charge. You should know your worth and your value and everything you put into a project. I was not sleeping last night thinking about a project that's lighting situation. So you need to charge what you're worth and what it takes.
All encompassing, say 6 months from now. Let's say 6 months, you're into probably the second phase of that project. Do you bill the client at that point?
Anything they add on, we rescope. So we had a client just come, the one we won Kitchen of the Year for. Oh. And she's like, oh, we want this. Now, we love working with her. It was a massive project. we're friends, so it gets a little tricky.
Dicey.
But at the same time, I'm paying a staff. So we scoped it out. We're like, I know you want, it's just a few things, but it takes our time. It still takes the same amount of time to put it in a presentation. So any addition they have, if it's a kitchen and then we add a laundry room, we pause, we rescope it, we submit it to them, and then they agree. And we're all on the same page. Again, you have to talk about money because that's what they're thinking about, and that's what I'm thinking about because I need to pay
My next question.
excellent designers. Yes.
My next question is there a general fee total that you could share with us?
I would rather not. Because it ranges. It's tricky.
There's a range, I know. but
Yes.
I just thought maybe, not a huge project, let's just say, well, and I don't want to throw that out at you. I just was curious how
Yeah.
you
You know,
keep
they
that under
range.
control.
They range. I just would say to that, and some of the times we'll sit at the table, we have design meetings, and we'll sit at the table and like, okay, this is, we just got a new build, and it's going to be at Blue Ridge, and there's travel time. So we think about travel time. We think about we do have to get there for site visits. We think about it's not as easy as popping by on the way home. So you have to think of all and we just charge for that. We're like, okay, we have a project at the beach. That's going to take time to get there. I'm going to be there a couple days. My team's going to have to go there. We're going to have a week-long install. So you have to just really put everything on the table. And I used to not charge what my worth was because I wanted the job. And you might be in that place. I just wanted to work and I wanted to get projects. And now, seeing the amount of jobs we have, you can be a little bit choosier and you can put that number on paper in confidence. And if they take it, great. If they don't, it's not worth our time. So be bold with your fee because they're coming to you because they believe that you can do it and they're an expertise that they're paying for. Don't undervalue yourself. I did that for a long time.
Especially how hard it is right now.
So, and you can't even find anyone to work. I really, right now in our industry, it is such a challenge. Are you all feeling that? Finding your resources and contractors? How booked are you now? 6 months out? For a new
It
project?
just depends on
The
location
project.
and the project, if we're close by.
How many people do you each have on your team working for you in the design, not your store, but the design portion of your business?
The question,
How many folks?
Sorry,
yeah.
I got to remind y'all, we're on camera, so if you would please just raise your hand, I'll come to you. All right, and this is going to be the last.
Hey, how many people do you have on your design team working for you, both of you, design and construction?
Go ahead.
So we have 5, 6, including myself. And I think we're a relatively small team for the amount of projects we're doing, but we are super efficient. I will just brag on my team. They are so deep in their skill set, and I have complete confidence in them to send them to the client. The client knows me because I'm on Instagram, and they always want me. So we always set the expectation that you'll see me at presentation and installation. But all of email, I'll stop in on a job site because I just like to see, but they're going to be working with one of my designers directly and leading into them, and I think that's important to kind of say. But we're small but mighty. They work fiercely, and I also think a smaller team is easier to manage. But they have a lot going on, and they work really hard. So thank you. And Jess isn't here, but
For our team, there's 16 of us, but on each project is assigned an awesome design coordinator who is sort of working hand in hand with the designers and kind of intaking all that information, make sure it's logged, and then we've got a project manager who's scheduling the day-to-day, making sure we're on budget, making sure we're on time. Then we have a superintendent also on that project who's, checking in with the guys. Hey, do you have enough 2x4s? Or hey, we had the other day, Aaron built this mock-up hearth for a customer who couldn't visualize what it was. Pulled some stuff out of the garage, and so we try to create that team environment. It does take a small army to do the stuff we do.
yeah. Yes.
Awesome. Well, we are inviting all of y'all to Dub Studio Wood Mode for some pastries, coffee, champagne maybe. And Chaz and Daniel will both be there, so we can ask more questions to them at that time if you have them. We thank you guys so much for listening and
thank you.
hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all.